What is going on, Bucs fans? We are live here on the Pirate Parlay podcast on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, JC, and it's Creamsicle Week. Throwback, Bucko Bruce in the house. Everything's changed. We're going back to the 70s. Retro colors, retro fit. Everything over at One Buck Place is switched over to Creamsicle. Everything getting over at Raymond James Stadium, switching over to Creamsicle. We're here. It's Creamsicle Week, and it's a big week. Big week with the NFC South division on the line. We'll get into all that. Injuries popping up. Could the Bucs make a move? What's next for this team after the injuries they've suffered? All that and more right after the break.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Pirate Parlay.
Battle intercepted, picked off in the end zone. Bucs are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world.
The sickest Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. It's going to be sick.
What is up, my people? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Pirate Parlay podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. As always, your host, JC Allen. First things first, let's make sure that we are, if you're joining on YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you're on Twitter, come on over to YouTube. We've got cookies. We've also got creamsicle gear. What? Over here. So come on over and like, subscribe, turn those notifications on. So every time we go live, you get the reminder and you know that we are popping off. We're popping off in the creamsicle this week. Just like the Bucs are. You see our backgrounds change to creamsicle. I'm rocking the creamsicle. I'll get into this more a little bit later in the show. Awesome collection. I'll show it off, everything like that. You guys, cool things are coming your way as far as this week with some of the designs that are coming out. So we'll get into all that and more. But first things first, let's start off the show by addressing the elephants in the room, which is the Bucs wide receiving core. We talked after the show on our post-game show. Didn't look good for Chris Godwin. Dislocated ankle was what was diagnosed after MRIs, after getting everything checked. It is a dislocated ankle. According to Ian Rappaport, per his sources, though, it's about as good as it could have been. So a little optimism there. Likely out for the season. He was placed on injured reserve today. But there is a small chance, I say small, that if the Bucs do make it deep into the postseason, he may be able to come back. If not, he's working towards a full recovery for 2025. He's been here before. He's done that before. A lot of people asked me this week, what does it mean, though? He's a free agent. Is he going to – from what I feel myself, this is no inside knowledge or anything like that. No, I feel Godwin will be back. I felt Godwin will be back before the injury. I feel Godwin will be back after the injury. He's just too important to this Buccaneers team, to this community. His family loves this community. And I don't envision him going anywhere else. I never did. Hometown discount, whatever you not. He was on his way to having a career year. He was putting up all-pro numbers, and if he continued that trajectory, would have made his first all-pro likely, unless, they Tampa Bay'd him, because you know how they do here down in Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers players. But I still think he'll get a solid second contract to remain with the Buccaneers for the rest of his career. That's just what I believe. Maybe not as much as he would have gotten before the injury, but I definitely think he'll be here. As you guys know, I reported yesterday, Mike Evans will be out until after the bye week, the earliest back against the Giants. Todd Bowles spoke to the media yesterday around 4:00 and confirmed what I had reported, that he is out until after the bye week. So he's going to miss the next 3 games. And again, Creamsicle Week, big one this week against the Atlanta Falcons. Next week against the Chiefs, who just acquired DeAndre Hopkins, much to many Bucs fans' chagrin. And then, of course, at home against the San Francisco 49ers before the Week 11 bye week. They come out of the bye week against the Giants. Adam Schefter reporting that he'll have an MRI today to determine the severity of it. We know it's at least until the Giants game, but depending on the MRI and what that says, that's going to determine if he can even come back in Week 12. He was in a considerable amount of pain. Same hamstring that was nagging him. And we know Mike has had hamstring injuries his entire career. They've settled down the last couple of years, but of course popped up again this time. And it's something that you just kind of have to monitor. And with Mike, you don't want to rush anything. You really can't at this point with Chris gone. Because it's the last thing you need is him to be out. You can't replace at all Mike or Chris. But with Chris, with the guys you have, you can maybe replace some of that production in the aggregate. But if Mike can't come back for that stretch run, those 7 games down the stretch that are going to be crucial, 3 divisional games, you look at a majority of those games too, but 2 of them are NFC teams too, which goes a long way for the conference, tiebreakers and stuff like that. You got to be able to, you got to get Mike back, and you got to make sure that he's good to go first and foremost. We can argue whether he should have played that game on Monday night. We can argue whether he should have been pulled after the first touchdown till we're blue in the face. Hindsight's 2020. No point of moving on. I'll linger on it, just moving on from it now. We also got some news today as well about Servassier Dennis. Many hoping that the second-year linebacker, might be able to return at some point this season, given the struggles that KJ Britt has had at the middle linebacker spot. Todd Bowles today confirmed that Servassier Dennis had shoulder surgery, and he will be out for the rest of the season. Big blow. They had really big plans for him. You could see the playmaking ability he was coming on. I mean, those 2 games, he was flying all around. It looked like he was about to break out and maybe even eventually take that job from KJ Britt. He dealt with a shoulder stinger in training camp, and it flared up. They had to get surgery on it. He's out for the season. He's really come along in his coverage, but he's still such a threat as someone who can get after the quarterback too with his blitzing skills. So it's one of these things where it's unfortunate. Another piece lost, and then Tykee Smith too. You're down Tykee Smith, who suffered a concussion early in the game in that second quarter. Back-to-back drives, the Bucs lost guys in that second quarter. Which continues to be, and we'll get into that second quarter collapse. I did a deep dive on it in my extra point today over at Bucs Game Day. Check that out. But he's out. Concussion protocol, unlikely to pass. Todd Bowles said it was good to see him out of practice. As just someone watching, he wouldn't have practiced today if it was a full practice anyways, just a walkthrough on a short week. But he's not going to be able to get cleared by the time the Buccaneers kick off on Sunday. It's a very far cry. So you're looking at him for maybe Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. With that extra kind of short week this week, but kind of a long week next week, because you have that Monday game. So you have that Sunday to recover, and then a short week, for the 49ers. So the Bucs are kind of in this weird spot where, they've got a week in between Monday Night Football games. And we'll kind of see how that goes. Other than that, injury report came out today too, around 4 or 5 o'clock. And there was another big name to add to this injury report. Obviously, Mike Evans didn't participate. Obviously, Tykee Smith didn't participate. Payne Durham still working back from that calf injury, did not participate. But the biggest name on there was Bucky Irving, not participating with a toe injury. Not good. He's running back. Just not much to say. That's not a good injury. And right now, from what I'm told, the Bucs don't know the severity of it, which is even worse. They need Bucky Irving, quite frankly. With the wide receiver room taking a toll, the last thing they can do is have that running game take a toll. Running game that has really turned on over the last 4 games. And we'll teaser. We'll get into that too in a little bit. But, Bucky Irving has been able to do it in a variety of different ways. On the ground wasn't his best performance this week, but he did have 54 yards through the air. Only 23 yards on the ground, 50 and a touchdown as well, 53 yards to the air. So he's contributing in a multitude of ways. And that's what you need out of a guy like him. So the Bucs.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K.
And we're back. Technical difficulties happen all the time. Not sure where we left off there. But welcome to the room. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, like, subscribe, turn the notifications on. We got the little cool "we'll be right back" sign there. Technical difficulties happen. I was talking about the injury report. If anyone was watching, let me know where I left off. But just talking about the injuries, updates. Bucky Irving, huge one to monitor there. As he's dealing with a toe injury. That's going to be something that we want to make sure that we're keeping an eye on during the week, because you cannot afford to lose him at all. He's a pivotal part of this rushing attack. Again, not too much going on last week as a runner, 23 yards on the ground, but he did score a touchdown, 54 yards to the air. So again, he provides a lot of value. And if he's out, now you're down to two guys. Just Rashad and Sean Tucker, and both of those guys performed well. Rashad White came back from injury, averaged 4 yards a carry, 40 yards on 10 attempts, but he was huge in the passing game, 6 receptions, 71 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tucker came in 5 for 29, 5.8 yards per carry, and added a 9-yard catch on 1 reception. So, both of those guys play their part in that role. And if you lose a guy like Bucky Irving, it just damages even more so what you have going on. So he's going to be the biggest one to watch there. As far as you look at the rest of the injury report, Raheem Jarrett making his way back from a knee injury that put him on IR. He had to have surgery on it. And Will Golston with that knee limited. He's been on there for a while now, but you'd love to have Payne Durham back again. Mike Evans, we know his situation. Tyreek Hill, Tykee Smith, we know his situation. Bucky Irving is the one that the Bucs desperately need back. And if that happens, if they can't have him this week, again, not sure the severity of that toe injury. They're trying to, which is even more alarming. We'll find out later in the week. You jump over to the Atlanta Falcons. Troy Anderson with the knee injuries limited. He didn't play in week 5, so that's a big one to watch. He can be a game changer for them. Matthew Bergeron, when they're starting lineman, he was full participant with a neck injury. Antonio Hamilton Sr., the cornerback, special teams guy backup, he was limited with a back injury. He had a cup of coffee with the Bucs in camp. Matthew Judon, obviously the outside linebacker they traded from with the Patriots this offseason. He just had a rest day and was eliminated. Nate Landman, one of their linebackers, was limited with a shoulder. Big one here, Ryan Newsel, their starting center, with their original starting center sidelined. Did not practice with a knee injury. And, of course, Justin Simmons, the all-pro safety, was limited with a hamstring. So those we'll be watching too. But the biggest one, again, is Bucky. We need to, the Bucs need to make sure that they can do whatever they can to have him on the field. But all right, before we jump into a little bit more, I want to give a huge shout out to not one of our sponsors, but Duvon Design. They have come up with an 8-piece collection with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for Throwback Week. They did the Miami Dolphins a couple weeks ago. They're doing the Buccaneers. I'm actually repping some of you can see. They've got the Buccaneers, Bucko Bruce of Tampa Bay, Duvon Designs. I'll let you see a little bit later. They got the hat going on as well. Buccaneers, Duvon with the creamsicle Bucko Bruce logo there. A couple other fits I'll show you guys real quick. But super stoked to be working with them, promoting for them. Go check it out. Everything drops tomorrow at 10 a.m. You can get it at Raymond James Stadium. You can get it on the Buccaneers website. All officially NFL licensed. It's a really cool collection. I'll show you a couple other pieces they have there that they're putting out as well. Total retro throwback 70s style stuff. It's really cool. So we have we've got the sweatshirt, throwback sweatshirt, and everything's really nice material, comfortable. Walk the plank with the Bucko, with the pirate with the parrot on his shoulder. Really cool stuff that they've got here. Let me come on down over here. We got the tie-dye. This one's really cool. Tie-dye with the Fire the Cannons. And then the Bucko and palm trees in the back there. So much cool stuff that they're doing. They've also got a black hat that kind of looks like this as well. It's really with a pirate. You've got the button down with Bucko and the palm trees on the back. I love the Bucko with the palm trees. And then we have this is like a bowler. This is like a straight out of the 70s bowler type shirt. Long sleeve. Great stuff over there. And obviously the shirt I'm wearing too, with, Bucko on the side over here with the palm trees. Great stuff by Duvon Design. Go check it out. It drops tomorrow at 10 a.m. Appreciate the hookup, the swag box. Go to my X page. You can see me I tried an unboxing. I'm not really good at it, but I tried it. I don't know how they do it. Hold the phone and everything. But check out Duvon Design. Their collab drops tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Raymond James Stadium on the Buccaneers website. Really cool stuff. All right, now that we talked about the injuries, let's get into some of the additions the Bucs made. Obviously, Jake Camarda, their punter, a 2022 draft pick in the 4th round. They have released him, waived him, was in a slump, just wasn't getting it done. Difficult situation for them there. They tried to give him some time, brought in Trenton Gill, elevated him up to his 3 elevations off the practice squad. Nothing you can do, at this point. If it's still in a slump, they had to make a move. They waived him, opened up another roster spot by putting Chris Godwin on injured reserve. With those spots, they brought up Trenton Gill to be the team's new punter. They also brought up wide receiver Ryan Miller. This is first time on the active roster. He got elevated a couple weeks ago, had that big catch for 39 yards. That was a game Mike got banged up last week against the Saints. He's a guy who had a really strong camp. Again, no one's filling Mike's shoes, but he really impressed through preseason as well. A lot of people thought he should have made the roster. So they'll give him a shot on the active roster. They need another body there. It looks like Rakim Jarrett might not be ready yet. We're getting closer. Maybe this week, maybe not. Then they'll have to make a decision there what they want to do. They also brought in a few guys as well on the practice squad as well. They brought another punter in because they're not just going to let this guy go and be satisfied. They brought Jake Browning in to compete with in the punting competition. He entered the league this season as an undrafted free agent with the Buffalo Bills. Spent a little bit of time with the Baltimore Ravens. Nothing crazy as far as what he's done. He's taken Jake's number on the practice squad. We'll see. And then they also signed wide receiver Dennis Houston. He entered the league as a free agent, undrafted free agent in 2022 with the Cowboys. Spent time on the practice squad of the Cowboys and New York Giants. He's appeared in 2 games. He's got 2 career receptions for 16 yards. Again, Western Illinois, small school type of guy. He's going to wear 89 for the Buccaneers. Not big moves. No big moves for the Bucs. Interesting enough, they also did try out a couple other guys. Isaiah Ford, Byron Pringle, Tampa guy. He's got some Tampa ties. Also some production to the league. Was with the Chiefs, obviously. Then went to the Bears. Was with the Commanders last year. And Caden Davis was another guy who's formerly with the Lions as well. A couple other guys, Ladietrich Griffin, Ty Zettner. But they went with Jake Browning and Dennis Houston. That's not going to cut it. I'll tell you that right now. They need to add to this room. They feel comfortable with the young guys. They want to see the development. But that's a lot of pressure to put on the offense. A lot of pressure to put on Liam Cohen. A lot of pressure to put on these young guys to say, hey, you guys need to step up. And you guys need to, assume the roles of Mike and Chris. Again, they're not going to be Mike and Chris. No one can be Mike and Chris. But they've got to fill those shoes, and those are big shoes to fill. Mike Evans is leading the league and tied for the number 1 in the league in touchdowns. Chris Godwin is leading the league in pretty much every other statistical category, except for receiving yards, which is number 2 at. It's just been absolutely a dominant pair, the duo. Obviously, Mike's yardage was down, but he was still a dominant threat in the red zone, and a guy who can dictate coverage. Sterling Shepard ain't dictating coverage. You're not getting dictated coverage from Jalen Miller and Trey Palmer. So it's going to put a lot of pressure on these guys. We'll see what they do. I think they need to make a move. We'll kind of end the show with my thoughts on that. But we'll move on into another area the Bucs need to fix. And before we do that, I want to give a shout out to one of our other sponsors, Buccaneers Cruise. We'd like to invite you to join us aboard the 2025 Tampa Bay Buccaneers Cruise, the ultimate fan experience at sea, from March 7th to 10th. Join fellow crew members and Bucs players such as Jordan Whitehead, Brad Johnson, Trey Palmer, Mike Allstott, Yaya Diaby, Kalijah Cansey, Graham Barton, Luke Gedeke, and so many more that haven't been named. Dexter Jackson, Derek Brooks, so many more. It's such an awesome time. You guys will have a blast on it. Tickets stop selling December 11th, so get on them now before it's too late. If you're looking for a last-minute Christmas present, check it out. It's going to be an awesome time. There's so many different things going on there, too. Sail away party, trivia contest, bingo, cocktail parties, player panels, water volleyball competition between the Bucs and the Crew. It starts Bucs versus Bucs, and it goes Bucs versus Crew for the championship. It's actually pretty fun. So many theme parties that keep the fun going all cruise long. It's not like a normal cruise or normal autograph session where you just rush through. You actually have time to interact and get to know the players. So don't miss this opportunity to celebrate your team, create lasting memories for a lifetime with fellow fans from all over the country and your favorite Bucs players. Check out Bucs Cruise. Again, we're getting close to the cutoff date. Check it out. If you guys already haven't, if you did, let me know. I'm excited to meet you guys because I'll be there too. So let me know if you guys have bought tickets. Operation Fill the Boat. It's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. There might be some spikes coming in future seasons as well. You know what I'm saying? You're picking up what I'm getting down. So it's just going to continue to grow, and you want to say that you've been there. Plus, you get a nice little swag back too, as well. It's a lot of fun. So check that out for sure. Middle of the field has been absolutely atrocious for the Bucs. Absolutely atrocious. All season long, and they really struggled to contain it this past week. Their worst game was by far against the Atlanta Falcons. Like, that was an abomination. When you look at what the Falcons were able to do on the middle in the middle of the field, Kirk Cousins was 6 for 9 for 123 from 0 to 10 yards. From 0 to 20 from 10 to 20 yards, he was 13 for 14 for 173 yards. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's madness. Like, you've got to be better than that. Per game right now, they're averaging 116 yards in the middle of the field and 5 touchdowns. They've got 3 interceptions, but again, when you're looking at the big deal, I see what you're saying right here, Buck Daddy. He's saying we need to replace Britt with JJ Russell. Pro Football Focus has Britt rated the worst linebacker in the NFL. No wonder why we're getting toasted in the seam. Again, on defense, we need to sit Britt and replace him with JJ Russell. Britt is the worst graded linebacker in the NFL this year. He's a really good 2-down thumper, and he's really good kind of being able to diagnose a play and get there. But when you're asking for him to drop in coverage or rely on his athleticism, nil. It doesn't look good. And it hasn't looked good since the beginning of the season. Through 7 games, they've allowed 69 receptions on 83 targets for 813 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's a lot. A lot. Lamar Jackson completed 5 of 7 passes to the seam for 65 yards and a touchdown. You throw behind the line of scrimmage in there too, he had 2 touchdowns. It was bad. Again, 19 of 23 for 296 and 2 touchdowns against the Falcons, who they play this week. They've been horrendous at stopping opposing offenses. And again, part of that is definitely on, a big part of that's on the players, but a big part of that's also on the coaching staff. You got to make the proper adjustments. Teams are going to be targeting that area of the field. What are you doing about it? What are you doing? I mean, like it or not, Levante David is not the same player of yesteryear. He's coming off his worst game this year, one of the worst games in recent memories. 2 tackles, was exploited a few times. Mark Andrews wide open in the middle of the field. Again, KJ Britt's fine when asking him to come downhill, but he doesn't have the skill set to drop in coverage effectively, especially when matched up against premier backs and tight ends. With Savasia Dennis out indefinitely, Tykee Smith in concussion protocol, you can't even mess around with the star linebacker because you need Christian Izien to play that slot. They haven't asked Javier Thomas to come in and play really all season, who's a good slot nickel cornerback with the Texans. You got to figure something out. And, Christian Izien's only like 5'8", 5'9", very undersized for a linebacker. You got to wonder if maybe it's time to kind of bump up Kalen DeLoach or get him ready. He came off an injury and re-signed. Is it time to get Kalen DeLoach ready and utilize his speed? Because you got to do something. There's no quick fix to this solution. There's an option for them potentially make a trade, but one of the big trades, Ernest Jones, Jerome Baker, that just was a trade that made today. I would have made it. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. I don't think that this team is going to make many moves. I don't. And if they are, they're going to be a smaller variety. Jason loves his picks. It's hard not to see why. Look at the success he's had with them. I get it. But at the same time, you're sitting here, you're 4-3. You've got a tough stretch ahead of you. What do you do? This week is a crapshoot. It's too late to bring anyone in. It's Wednesday. You play on Sunday. And I also think it's too late for you to say, well, let's see how we do Sunday with these guys. And then now you're reactionary making a move instead of, proactively making a move. And I think you need to. Maybe they're waiting to get the full results from Mike's MRI before they started to look into different guys. And I've got a list. I've got a list of guys. Got a list of how much they're going to cost. Got a list of their production this season. But I'll save that for later. Let's tease that for later. But they've got to do something because the middle of the field has been absolutely horrendous. What's the worst going to happen if you play JJ Russell? It's not like you're paying KJ Britt a ton of money. He's in the final year of his deal. You're not paying him a boatload of money. Levante David, final year of his deal. Let the young guys go. See what they got. See if they can be any better. And if they are, look at that. They're better. But as Air Cecil says, Bulls' refusal to move up players in a timely fashion will always drive me nuts. And it's true. There's, Devin White should have been benched a long time ago. And they finally, the Green Bay game was like the final straw. They're like, whatever, we're putting KJ in. KJ looked good in a limited role. KJ looks good against certain defenses. It was KJ's game. Like, that is your game to shine. You're going up against Derrick Henry. You are a 2-down thumper. You're an old school type of linebacker. And he did all right. He did all right. I mean, you look at what Henry did running up the gut. It wasn't bad. Like, again, I got some crap for this. I say you take out his 81 and 39, you only hold him to 49 yards rushing. Like, yeah, you take out Lamar's passing and he only had 0 and 0. Well, yeah, I get it what you're saying. Those runs were to the outside. They weren't to the middle. But again, you're asking him to drop back in coverage and be cognizant of a guy like Mark Andrews, who, has been trash at the beginning of the season, came out last week and did his thing. And then obviously against the Bucs, 2 tutties, did his thing. But like, he's not good there. So JJ Russell, Ryan Neal. Oh my goodness, Ryan Neal. That went on for way too long last year. Way too long. And again, you can't repeat that same mistake with KJ Britt. I like KJ Britt as a person. I like his mentality. I love his work ethic. But you can't overcome limitations athletically. Like, you can't. Like, if you're not a fast guy, it's hard to become a fast guy. And that's what's happening, he's not able to get to the spot he needs to be. It's like a player who, and again, I still think he has value on this team. I definitely think he has value, but let's see what JJ Russell can do in certain passing downs and situations like that. I'm not saying you just fire him to the moon. I think Britt can be very valuable in situations, as a linebacker. Not just as a special teams guy, but you got to figure something out. You got to try something different. JJ Russell, Kalen DeLoach, Antonio Greer, who you got on the active. Somebody needs a shot to see if they can do better. That's all I think. And I know Britt's one of the vocal leaders on this team and stuff like that. And you're trying not to. At some point, the team's got to understand, like, this isn't working. We hoped it would. We thought it would. It's not. And you got to figure it out. But again, it's not just him. It's not just him. Jordan Whitehead had one of the worst games I've ever seen. Jordan Whitehead was atrocious. He played terrible. And if you ask Jordan Whitehead how he thought he played, he'd tell you, I played terrible. That was not my game. I don't know if he touched a Space Jam ball, but between him and Levante, I don't know. Antoine wasn't that great either, to be honest. Yeah, he got the sack, but he didn't. That wasn't a vintage Antoine Winfield game. And of course, things shift once Tykee goes out, right? But I don't know. You got to fix the middle of the field, and you got to fix again. We'll go into this same situation 2 weeks in a row, the second straight week. Get off to a hot start. Last week you score a boatload of points, 24 points right off the get. This week you score 10 points. Second quarter comes around, boom, self-implode. It took less than 3 minutes for the Ravens to move the ball 70 yards down the field and scored on a short pass in the middle of the field to put their first points of the game on the board in the second quarter. The Bucs, no, this is going to happen to us again. Not going to happen to us again. They march down the field and Baker throws an interception in the red zone. Quick 59-yard bomb to Rashad Bateman. Zion gets turned around in coverage, who has been phenomenal this season, but had a less than stellar game. And they're on the board 2 plays later. 4 plays later. Boom. 3 plays later. 2 plays after that. Because the first one was a Derrick Henry run for 13 yards. They're out in front, 14-10. Second quarter. Bucs start the ensuing drive. 15-yard run by Tucker. 2 plays later, Baker, second interception. Underthrows the ball. Marlon Humphreys gets the second of the game. Ravens go down and kick a field goal with 5 seconds left in the half. 17-0 into halftime. 17 unanswered points, 2 interceptions. Put that together. 27-17. You guys know I suck at math. But that's what? 30 plus 14, 44 points and 5 interceptions in the second quarter. 44 points and 5 interceptions in the second quarter in 2 games. What are you doing? Not good. Not good. Not good. And the bleeding continued in the third. They scored 17 points, unanswered points into the third. Before you looked up, before you knew it, with less than 3 minutes left in the third quarter, the Ravens had scored 34 unanswered points. It's 34-10. 34-10. 34 unanswered points. What are we doing here? Like, you got to figure it out. And you can't let this snowball. Like, you can't. You can't let this snowball. You need to identify what the hell's going on in the second quarter. Are you gassed? Is there something are they making adjustments? Why aren't you making adjustments? I've heard the communication. We got to communicate better. We got to communicate better. We got to communicate. I got to see it better. I got to throw it better. There's got to be something. Too little, too late. Like, you've got to figure this out, why the team is stalling. And it's not just, it's crazy. It's not just one side of the ball. It's both sides of the ball. They got to fix it. Their next 3 appointments will exploit that. You think the Chiefs or the 49ers, who are apparently getting Christian McCaffrey back for that game, by the way, or even the Falcons, even if the Bucs score first, if you implode like that again, these 3 teams will take advantage of that, and you will be in an earlier hole, and you might not be able to climb out of it. They're lucky against the Saints. They almost got lucky. I mean, you think about it, if it gets a little more English to the left on Chase McLaughlin's field goal attempt, the wins weren't so bad. They're down 7 at the end of the game. The drive Chris Godwin gets hurt. Like, they clawed their way back into it. And I won't go back. I've already talked about it. I'm not going to talk about it again on the post reaction. I'm not going to fault the Bucs for going. I've seen crazier stuff. I've lived through the Miami Miracle. All right. Gronk trying to make a tackle on defense. I lived through that. I know what can happen in close games. And I know there's just a minute left, but you get a long bomb down there. You've already got an onside kick, and there's no limit in the fourth quarter. Just put a kibosh on that. But or something happens. There's always a possibility. Bobbled snap, something, even though it's right there. I don't blame them for continuing going to it. Hindsight's 20/20. Everyone wants to say that. Game's never over till it's over. These guys did not want to come out. And I've had that confirmed with me, not just via press conferences, but other ways. But yeah, you got to fix the second quarter, because if you can't keep doing this. You're not always going to score like you did against the Saints. You've got to fix the middle of the field and the stalls in the second. You fix the hot start. The last 2 weeks hasn't mean crap, because you let up so much points in the second quarter. Through interceptions there. It's a point of contention. We'll talk about the offensive line and the running back, because I think we've had a little bit of negativity this last segment. So let's talk about that. Before we do that, quick shout out to our newest sponsor, Fan Go Tickets. Guys, this is an awesome sponsor we have going on here. They're locally owned, by the way, in Tampa. Let me pull up the read. Tired of getting blitzed by big ticket companies? I know I am. TickPick, Game Time, they say no hidden fees, but there's still fees wrapped in. Ticketmaster, forget about it. You get there, you're like, oh my God, it's only $14. Oh my God, it's only $140. Never mind. You guys got to turn to FanGo. Your exclusive locally owned and operated Tampa Bay ticketing partner that offers fans like you full transparency. When I mean full transparency, when you go in there to buy a ticket, it shows you how much the ticket is. It shows you how much the taxes and fees are. And it literally shows you how much they're making per ticket. No one else is doing that. You're seeing where your money is going. And they're right on par with those, Game Time, TickPick, those other ones who are sneaking those hidden fees. Check out Fan Go Tickets. It's your number one source for live events in Tampa Bay. Not just games. They also have concerts and other things as well. But, this is a company that is locally owned, and they're tired of seeing people get ripped off. So they prioritize fair pricing, no hidden fees, so Tampa fans can enjoy events without unexpected costs. You guys got to visit fango.com for unbeatable prices, personalized seat selection, and local partnerships that will take your game day to the next level. I teased some of the things they're doing. I'm not going to tease, so I wasn't supposed to tease, but they've got these partnerships that they're putting together with, let's say you're going to the Lightning game or you're going to the Bucs game, where you can get your tickets, you can get parking, and you can get pregame. So they're working on tailgate packages where you can go to a tailgate. Everything's already wrapped into your price. You get a discount on it as well. And everything, bada bing, bada boom. If you're coming from out of town, they're working on getting hotels wrapped in. So it's pretty much you're booking your entire trip besides airfare through one spot, which is so cool. And you're getting discounts on everything because you're doing it in one area. So cool. Let's say you're going to the Lightning game because hockey season is back. I'm a Bruins fan, as you can tell, but let's go Bolts when they're not playing the Bruins and when things aren't down to the wire. But you'll say you go to the Lightning game, you can get parking there. You can go to one of those local bars down there. You'll have a reserved table. We know how hard, if you've ever been to a hockey game down there, you know how difficult it is to try to get a table somewhere, let alone get a beer or a bite to eat before a game. They're going to take care of all that. They're going to put a partnership where you can just buy your ticket, buy your package, where you have your parking at the garage. You go to one of those restaurants that are local down there, and you've got a combo burger and a beer for $15, $17, something like that, cheaper than what it would normally be. And you have yourself a reserved flat top or spot right there. Awesome things from FanGo. Not to mention, I know a bunch of you guys are still bummed out. Head to my Twitter page right now. We are giving away free tickets to the Creamsicle game this Sunday. Falcons, Bucs. All you got to do is make sure you're following me, following Sick Podcast, following FanGo on Twitter, and like, retweet, and drop your favorite Bucs memory. Pictures are awesome. Words are great. Drop that in there, and you'll be entered to win a free pair of tickets to the Bucs Falcons. People are slacking right now. I know we're in like depression mode. But there's not many people who have entered for whatever crazy reason. So go enter now, because I'm drawing this live on Pirate Parlay podcast on Friday around 7:00, maybe a little earlier. I'm working on my Behind the Enemy Lines guest. But we're dropping the winner live on Friday. So you've got 2 more days. And again, I think there's only like 20, 30 people on there who have put in names. So it's not a big prize, not a big pool. You could win. If you're someone who doesn't feel like they win all the time, head over to my Twitter page. It's pinned tweet right there. Follow Sick Podcast, follow FanGo, follow me, retweet it. We're giving away free tickets. Creamsicle week, baby. So yeah, huge shout out to FanGo. Happy to have them on, exclusive ticketing partner of the Pirate Parlay podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. Let's talk about the run game, guys. My goodness, what is happening? What is happening with this run game? They're 8th in the league. They were dead last the last 2 years. What are we doing? What are we doing? Throwback. Depressed mode playing at Coachella. Shout out to my people over on YouTube. Shout out to everyone on Twitter too. If you're on Twitter, come over to YouTube, like, subscribe, turn notifications. Let's get this in front of more people. Let's get us up to 1,000 subscribers. I don't know why it's taking this long. Look at all the people I've had on. What are we doing here? But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about this running game, because for the first time in 2 years, the Bucs have one. Can you imagine that? For the 4th consecutive game, the Bucs offense has totaled over 100 yards on the ground rushing. This past week, it wasn't the production they had against, the Saints, 277 yards. But the Ravens coming into this had only allowed 59 yards per game on the ground to opposing teams. The Bucs offense broke out for 124 yards behind that 3-headed rushing attack of Rachaad White, Bucky, Irving, and Sean Tucker. We talked about White is still the guy. Led with 39 snaps. He's the starter. He took the field first. And he led the team with 40 yards on the ground. Chipped in again as a receiver, which they're going to need to utilize him more with the injuries there. Chipped in 71 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 receptions through the air. Irving was an X-man up. He logged 29 snaps. So getting closer. 39-29 isn't 39-16 like it was. He had 23 yards on the ground, had that touchdown, 54 yards on the air as well. And then Sean Tucker, who won the NFC Offensive Player of the Week last week, he logged 16 snaps, so he's getting into the mix. Before that, he only had 1 or 2. He ran for 29 yards, had 1 catch for 9 yards. That three-headed monster is moving and grooving. They are getting after it. They're starting to turn things around for this rushing attack that was ranked dead last for so long. They're getting in the end zone. They're picking up explosive runs, which is the big thing. Sean Tucker had one for 15 yards. Baker Mayfield had an explosive run. He's getting, his legs going for 12 yards. They did a sweep with Jalen McMillan, who had 11 yards on a run. So explosive plays in the running game are coming. You're seeing a lot more of it. They're doing a great job, getting the ball into advantageous positions. And I think, a lot of the last year was, okay, we're running mid-zone, wide zone. That's what we're running, and we're going to run it. And the offensive line couldn't block it well. And they started to get it towards the end of the year. That's why I saw the running game pick up towards the end of the year. Still, dead last in the league. This year, Cohen realized, hey, mid-zone, wide zone, inside zone, they're kind of struggling. They're not really kind of getting this blocking concept, or we don't have the guys to kind of do it. Let's go back to more gap. Let's go back to more duo. Let's get some 21 pony personnel in there with 2 backs. Kind of makes some misdirection. Guys not know who it's going to. And you've seen an offensive explosion. And I think a lot of that the last 4 games is Cohen realizing that, hey, these guys are rushing better in this situation. So I'm going to put them in this situation. These guys are blocking better in this situation. I'm going to put this. This was a phenomenal game for the Bucs offensive line. Gedeke's still a little rusty. He had 2 false start calls. He's still kind of working his way back into football shape after missing a month. But the rest of the offensive line, when you looked at the PFF grades, all 4 members of the offensive line were in the top 5. When you look, I just shared something about blocking grades as well. Let me see if I can find it real quick while I'm talking to you. But, Tristan Wirfs, again, such a baloney call on that holding call. I thought that was awful. His first since 2022. Like, Tristan Wirfs doesn't need to hold. Hello. They're going to call something like that. I thought that was just outlandish. But, yeah, best run blocking grades in week 7. Graham Barton, 83.2, 4th among centers. Ben Bredesen, who I thought had his best game, 80.4, which was 3rd amongst guards. The offensive line is really, really starting to come on. They're doing a phenomenal job. And I think not just blocking in the run game, but pass blocking as well. And that's a credit to Cohen, Liam Cohen, offensive coordinator, for recognizing and realizing that, okay, these guys block better this situation. This is where I'm going to put them in. These guys run better this situation. I'm going to put it. And I think it's going to continue. The Falcons, when you go back and look at that Falcons game, it wasn't again, everything will be measured up to that Saints game because it was absolutely insane. But, when you look at what they're able to do, they outran the Falcons, and they got Bijan Robinson, but Rashad White had 72 yards on the ground. Remember, they had that big 56-yarder. Bucky Irving had 44. Baker Mayfield kind of went scrambling all over the place, had 42. And they outgained them 160-73. So this is a team that you can rush on. And this is also a team on defense against the Falcons, and we'll deep dive back into the Falcons too on Friday's show when we have a guest on. But it's a team that they're not going to bring a lot of pressure. So again, offensive line knows that this team has struggled with pressure and they struggled to stop the run, especially when playing the Bucs. So bada bing, bada boom, everything should lead to continued success. And when you have to lean on the ground game more so because of the wide receivers, that's going to help the offense as well. Speaking of the offense, I want to put this out there because I've seen it out there. We'll see how good Liam Cohen really is. We'll see what Liam can do now. We'll see if he's the guy that everyone was talking about. Let's stop that. Liam Cohen just lost Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Dramatic pause for a reason. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Those two are the best wide receivers in football right now. And as a tandem, there's nobody else in their stratosphere. Compared, if you look at their stats this year, there's nobody else. No other tandem comes close to what they're doing. And they're both gone for the next 3 games. Against Falcons, a divisional game, and a team that's pretty dang good this year. The undefeated Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night in Kansas City, one of the most loudest and raucous environments to play in. It's going to be pretty cold there too. And then at home against San Francisco 49ers. They went to the Super Bowl last year. Let's pump the brakes, all right? With let's see what Liam Cohen is. Let's see what Liam Cohen can do. Acceptable. Not we're going to find out who this guy is or how good he is or what. He's got his hands cut out for him. These guys are at this moment right now, Sterling Shepard, Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer, all good players. They're fringe number 3s right now. Fringe number 3s. None of them have put up consistent number 3 production. And you're asking one of them to be a number 1, one of them to be a number 2, and one of them to be a consistent number 3. That's difficult. That's extremely difficult for a playmaker. Again, I talked about Mike dictating coverage, Chris dictating coverage. These guys aren't dictating coverages. Liam's going to have to be extremely creative with how he calls this game, how he calls these games going forward until he gets Mike back. Because, again, I believe you can replace Chris Godwin's production-esque, not Chris ever, but his production-esque in the aggregate with some of these guys. You're not replacing Chris Godwin. You're not replacing Mike Evans with anybody on this roster. That's just the facts. Trey Palmer's going to try or attempt not replace him, but be that guy. But yeah, I think people need to slow their roll. I think Liam has been phenomenal. Liam's ability to adjust during games, throughout the weeks leading up to games, once he realizes something is working, case in point, the running game. His creativity on some plays. I mean, there was one play, I think it was last week with Shep. It was last week with Sterling Shepard. He comes in motion, then he comes back across in orbital motion and gets the screen pass. You know, he doesn't stop moving. He's literally, they're set. He runs in motion, comes back around Baker in orbital motion, gets the ball and runs for like 8 yards. You know, I think there's been some really creative play, and he's going to have to dive into that back. But to say it's, oh, great, we'll see how good Liam really is. No, we won't. We saw how good Liam really was with his playmakers. You know, there's not a team in the league that's dealing with this situation like this, where you lose your number 1 and number 2 wide receiver, and you're bringing in fringe 3s to replace them. If Liam can get this offense moving successfully and win one or by some reason 2 of these games, like, the praise is heaped on him because he's got his work cut out for him. He's got his work cut out for him, and that's an understatement because it doesn't look like the Bucs are going to make a move anytime soon. Bringing Byron Pringle in, signing Dennis Houston. Like, I don't even know Dennis Houston was in the league, or that's not even his name. I don't even know his name. It is his name. See, like, I'm sure he's a great guy. What has he done as a player? And I'm not sure they should have went for D-Hop, I don't think that was D-Hop was all right last year. He's been banged up. He's one of these, it's like Julio Jones 2.0. I don't know, but like, I don't know if that was the right move, but there's got to be a move. But to say like, we're going to see how good Liam Cohen is, I think is garbage. And people can't say that. Like, you just can't. Like, we'll see how creative he can be, what he can do. Yeah. But to measure any of this rest of the season, even not just this 3-game streak, the rest of the season, I think is tough. And you can look around and say, well, teams don't have guys like that, but like his offense is tailored around the guys like that. Like, that's who he built his offense around, was Mike and Chris. And you got to be prepared for injuries no matter what. But I think to say like to put it on his shoulders is kind of crazy. That's all. I think he's done a phenomenal job. I think if he gets through this season, I think if he gets through this stretch and wins 2 games, like, Bucs better be like offering in the bag. Like, I've already heard whispers of guys like, Liam Cohen guy's pretty good. Maybe I wonder how he'd be as a head coach. 3 in 3 years, no one wants that. But yeah, I don't think there's any indication of let's see how good he is. And if he loses these next 3 games, Liam Cohen's trash because he can't get Trey Palmer, Jalen McMillan, and Sterling Shepard to look like Mike and Chris in this offense going against 3 really good teams before the bye. Just my opinion, just my thought. You don't have to agree with me. But again, let's keep things in perspective. I saw something. I wasn't here for the Shiano, Cutter, Morris, those days. I wasn't I didn't care about the Bucs. I wasn't here. But I saw someone say a lot of you guys weren't here for that time, and it shows. The Bucs are still 4-3, still got a winning record. They're playing for first place in the NFC South. And even if they lose these next 3 games, they're still in a pretty solid position. You look at the other side of the bye, not that great. You look at the landscape of the NFC, not that great. There's still an opportunity for them to make a wild card, even if they don't win the NFC South. NFC South is preferred. You got that home game. But again, we'll see what's popping. I'll get into my last read, and then we'll finish up with I've got a list of wide receivers. I know you guys have been waiting for that. List of wide receivers that could be available on the market, what their stats are like this season, how much they're making, how much it would cost the Buccaneers to bring it in. All of them are pretty doable. There's one that maybe might be a little iffy. Some of the names, most of the names you probably heard, but we'll get into a little bit why I think they should, why I think they shouldn't, and the names and how they could fit them under the cap space in some regards. So we want to shout out to our Mosley Plumbing and Heating and Air. It's cooling down a little bit, which is a great time to start servicing your ACs, guys. But it's still kind of warm during the day. Today, I think it was 87. Beautiful at night, but it's still a little warm during the day. So when Florida heat hits you hard, trust Mosley Heating and Air. Simple as that. They keep you cool and comfortable with over 25 years of experience. Their family-owned business knows what it takes to keep your home's HVAC system running smoothly. In Florida, we know how important that is at all times. If you need a repair, again, a new system or maintenance plan, right now it's time to do it when it's cooling down, where you can turn your AC off for a few hours and not feel those blistering effects like in the summer. And of course, you want to make sure that next summer comes around, it's running good and smooth. But they got you covered there. They got so much going on. Call Mosley Heating and Air today, 813-230-3742. Visit mosleyheatingandair.com. Mosley Heating and Air, where comfort meets reliability. Check them out. They've got a lot of good stuff going on over there. And if you're in the Tampa area, tell them I sent you. Maybe get yourself a good deal. But definitely check them out. I want to jump into the comments real quick. We're going a little long today. Screw it. I don't care. Maybe that's why I'm not popping in front, because the algorithm glued to long shows, but I like talking to y'all. We'll run through. Christopher Cole says, hey, shout out to Clock 5 White as well. What's going on, guys? Appreciate you guys stopping in. Brian, as always. Buck Daddy, as always. KS, I agree. KS says, let's get this to over 1K subscribers. You can start sending super chats. I love super chats. Appreciate you guys. Brian. Baker stared down Irving wide open until he got covered, then threw the interception the other way. Drove me nuts. Like missing a sure touchdown to Mike Evans wide open, 35 yards out in the Falcons game for a 1-yard screen pass. Yeah, that was mind-boggling or mind-bottling. When your thoughts get trapped in your mind like a bottle. Bottling. I don't know. What do you guys say? Richard, what's going on, my man? Always awesome to have you in here. Game On says Sean Tucker is the best running back on the team, 5.9 yards average on Monday Night Football. He's the best pure rusher on the Bucs. I won't disagree with that, but I think each one of them brings something different. Richard says Terrell Owens still out there. He's still trying to make him and Colin Kaepernick will keep trying to make a comeback until, I don't know. Bryce says D-Hop probably could have stood in for Evans, but then what do you do when Evans comes back? D-Hop can't fill in Godwin's role if it's a permanent fix to a temporary problem. And I don't even know if D-Hop can fill in that role. He hasn't been the same guy last couple weeks. But honestly, guys, all this is a moot point because I don't think Jason's going to do anything. Again, I mentioned Jason loves his picks, rightfully so. Look what he's done with them. And I don't think he wants to give up a serious pick, at least, for a guy who's going to be a rental or for a guy who's going to cost money down the line or pay what some teams want to have receive for a guy. There's some names on the market here, which I think could help this Bucs team, whether in the short term, the long term. I believe they're going to re-sign Chris Godwin. So I don't know if you need a guy on a multi-year deal. I don't. I think the guys in the multi-year deals are probably your best options, if we want to be honest about it. But I don't think you need, because I think you've got good depth, and if they're getting shoved into this is going to help them grow. Bowles is never afraid to play young guys. Never afraid. And look how it's developed some of these guys on the team. He's not afraid to play rookies, not afraid to play second-year players in big spots. And it's helped develop a lot of the players you have on your team now. Luke Gedeke, struggled as a rookie. Moved him out to right tackle. Didn't know how he's going to do. One of the best right tackles in football when he's healthy, fully healthy. Let's put that caveat. Cy McCollum, Christian Izzian, Tykee Smith as a rookie was in D-Roy conversation before this hurt injury. Yaya Diaby. I mean, the Kalijah Kansas. The list goes on. And again, Kalijah Kansas first round pick, I guess, washed him out. But a lot of guys. He's not willing to afraid. Tyreek Thunderberg had a pretty good game. You got turned around on a few plays and missed a few, but on the whole, he had a pretty good game. I didn't think he was a liability. I think the same things that you might say about Jamel Dean, you could have said about Tyreek Thunderberg, and we know people are going to say the same thing about Jamel Dean. But I didn't think there was anything egregious there where you wouldn't have, said about that. But I think, again, Imputer 941 says, I'm excited to see what we have in our young wide receivers. I think some people are. But I also think there's a sense of urgency, too, that, hey, we feel like we have a championship team. We beat the Lions. We beat the Eagles. We smoked the Saints. We've won different ways. We beat Washington, who is now a really good football team. We only lost to 10 points to the Ravens. Granted, we imploded ourselves and we lost Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Tykee Smith in the process. But we only lost by 10. I see a lot of people saying, hey, we're still in this. We're still in this. The 49ers barely beat us last year. We can beat them. And again, I think that's a way that people feel. And I think that's why people want to see something. All right. I want to see our young guys too, right? But I want to see something. I think that's what a lot of fans are saying. And that's, I like to see what the young guys can do too. But I do think the Bucs need something. So let's run down these wide receivers here. Again, and I don't think Jason's going to make a move. I think they need to move at linebacker. We talked about that. But I don't think he's going to make a move there either. This team is, I think, really solely on, let's see what we have. We've gone through worse. Let's try to get through it. First name everyone knows, Mike Williams. Everyone's heard Mike Williams from the Jets. Mike Williams from the Jets. He's got 11 receptions, 160 yards, 0 touchdowns. It looks like he's fallen off. He's been injured already this season, kind of banged up, still played through it. He took the last game off for personal reasons. Devontae Adams was his personal reasons, I'm sure. Didn't want to get banged up in that game. Wanted to get out of there. $1.5 million for the rest of the season. Not terrible. Not terrible. But again, he's more of that outside burner speed threat. Is Mike Williams an upgrade over a guy like Trey Palmer? I don't know. He's got experience. He's got speed. He's had really successful seasons. I mean, he signed a 3-year, $60 million deal the same time that Chris Godwin did. It's not like this guy's a complete bum. I mean, look up his stats for his career, which we'll do right now on the fly. Other than just his stats this season. But I mean, he's been a productive wide receiver, but is he at that spot where he's 30 years old, where he's lost a step and he can't come back from it? I don't know. But I don't think he's going to cost a lot either, too. That's the thing. I think you can probably get him for like a 6th round pick, maybe. Last year, again, missed all of last year. The year prior, he had 63 receptions for 895 yards. The year prior to that got him paid 76 for 1,146. So, I mean, he's been a productive receiver, but, he's had his share of injuries. But if you can get him for a 6th at 1.5 for the rest of the season, I like the move. Again, it's something. It's showing that, hey, we're not throwing in the towel here. Deontay Johnson, Carolina, in division trade. Very rare they happen. He's got 30 receptions for 357 yards and 3 touchdowns. Only making 5.88 prorated, obviously, because I'm prorating these guys' salaries from what they've already made. About $5.88 million, easily fit that in the cap. The Bucs have $10.5 million. They have a few restructures they can do if they need to, but they can fit that under the cap. Do the Carolina Panthers want to trade him? Is Dave going to do the Bucs any favors? He's only on a 1-year deal, so after this is expired, same thing with Williams. I think he'd be the best bet. I think Deontay Johnson would be the best. I think he can fit in a variety of different ways. He's very versatile. He'd give you a number 2 wide receiver when Mike gets back. And that way you can keep playing those guys in a three kind of situation. I think Deontay Johnson would be the best bet for them. I don't know if the Carolina Panthers are going to trade him. 1, I don't know if they're going to trade him in division. 2, I don't know if they're going to trade him in division to the Bucs. 3. Again, but he's only on a 1-year deal. You know, they did trade to get him. I forget what that cost them. Sorry for not being prepared. We'll see what they. So they're gonna at least want to get that. Jeez, why is this so difficult? If anyone knows what it is, what did they trade for him to get him? Because I know they traded to get him in the first place. Pittsburgh. It's just showing that everyone wants to trade for him now. You know, he's in the last year of his deal. Everyone's trying to trade for him. And again, you know, it's been out there. Carolina Panthers Sports Illustrated, their Sports Illustrated Panthers predicted to send Pro Bowl wide receiver to Buccaneers at trade deadline. I think that'd be a good move. Again, I don't know what they traded for him. I'm sure they'd want to get that compensation back. But if you're, you know, 4th round pick, you know, would you do a 4th round pick? A conditional 4th round pick? Would you guys do that? Would you trade for Deontay Johnson for a conditional 4th round pick? Maybe you can jump up to a 3 for 10 games. Really 9, because you're not going to get him this week. I don't know. You know, I don't know. Maybe. Pewter said he'd trade Trask straight up. You know, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I like that the best, though. I think he gives you a solid number 2 that you can run with Mike. Jacoby Myers, another one. He just came back from injury. 25 receptions for 273 yards and a touchdown. More of a slot guy. He's owed $5.57 million this year, $14 million next year, and $4 million the year after that. I don't love those numbers at all. Really don't. You got to pay a guy $18 million over the next 2 years after this year. But again, depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for a guy who can play the slot? Did very well for the Patriots, especially when Brady was there. Has been kind of in no man's land right now, with Mac Jones and obviously with playing out in Las Vegas, because everyone's in no man's land out there. No one wants to be there. But they're turning into sellers, right? So are they going to sell Jacoby Myers? What would the cost be with the contract, the production? Probably a 5th rounder. You know, what sounds more exciting to you? A conditional 4th or a 5th for Johnson or Myers? I mean, I'm still leaning Johnson. I think Johnson would be a great get for them. Speaking of the Patriots, Kayshon Boutte, 8 receptions, 139 yards, and a touchdown. He's dirt cheap, though. You're getting him for a little over $500,000 this year, $1 million next year, and $1.1 million the following year. So Kayshon Boutte, you get him for the next 3 years at very manageable cost. He can play special teams. He can be that wide receiver 4, 5 on you for the depth chart, 6 on the depth chart. He's currently the Patriots number 2/1, depending on, you know, whatever. So you know, that's a guy I'd be interested in. I'd be interested on him as well. It was Deontay Johnson at 24/7 for Dante Jackson in 2024/6. So yeah, trades of players. That's why. You know, I don't know if the Bucs are into trading players. They usually don't like to do that. I don't know who you trade at this point. Maybe one of your surplus defensive linemen. Maybe a CJ Brewer or something like that, who's got familiarity with Dave. I mean, Dave knows the guys on the staff. Maybe there's someone that he might want. But I don't know what you do there. Kayshon Boutte's another guy. Tyler Boyd, looks like the Titans are fire sailing. They just got rid of DeAndre Hopkins, Ernest Jones IV. Maybe a guy like Tyler Boyd might be an option. He's got 18 receptions for 170 yards and 0 touchdowns. Only will cost you $1.4 million for the rest of the year. He's been a number 3 before. So he gives you a guy who's been a consistent, solid number 3. Hasn't had a great start to the season. Some people think he's cooked. But again, we're going with inexperience versus experience here. What do you want? Do you want a guy who, you're thrusting out there, you want to see what he is, or do you want to have at least the guy? I mean, even if you play these young guys, behind the young guys right now is Ryan Miller, Rakim Jarrett when he gets back, and Mike Evans and Sterling Shepard, who hasn't been healthy. He's healthy now, but still hasn't been healthy. You could get injured. He didn't even make it all the way through training camp. You want another guy with some veteran leadership on this team, right? I mean, that's what I would think. I would think you would want another guy with some veteran leadership on this team, even in the worst case scenario. The last guy is the guy everybody wants, Cooper Kupp. And you can see why. Cooper Kupp, Triple Crown, slot receiver, slot machine, Liam Cohen, Rams, all these hype words that jump out to you. Cooper Kupp, 18 receptions, 147 yards, and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp cost you $17.4 million. Now, the Rams are saying they're willing to eat some salary, but if they're going to eat salary, they're eating about $10 million with this next year. The tough part about Cooper Kupp is he got $9.2 million coming next year in guaranteed money and $5 million coming in the following year of guaranteed money still in his contract. He's owed $20 million. He's owed $2 million over the next 2 years, not counting this year. He's owed $57 million. Like, it's a tough resell to re-sign Chris Godwin if you got Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp is older than Mike Evans. Like, and he's been off injured the last couple of years. I think Cooper Kupp would be amazing. You get Mike Evans back. I think you've got Godwin there. If he can stay healthy, I think you're good. Like, I think you just picked up right where you left off. You tough out the Mike Storm. You got Cooper Kupp and your trajectory's straight up. You're not missing a beat. If Kupp can stay healthy, you got to pay for it though. And how much? And you got to pay for it in draft capital too. Everyone's like second round picks too much. Second round picks too much. Well, the Rams are essentially buying that. They're saying, are we going to pay XYZ? We want the second round pick. Think about kind of when the Browns bought who's that guy from the Texans? His Brock Osweiler's contract. Remember, they bought Brock Osweiler's contract for like a second or a third round pick and took on like $20 million in money. Like, it's kind of that situation there with Cooper Kupp. Like, if they're going to take $30 million, we want a second round pick. Jason's not doing that. Jason's not giving up a second round pick. Jason makes a move for a wide receiver. I'd be shocked if he gives up anything more than a fifth. Shocked. So, I think Deontay Johnson's the best offer there, but the best fit there. I don't think. Brian, I got to disagree with you. You're saying a decade of second round picks? Last decade of second round picks hasn't been solid? I mean, you got Donovan Smith, Ali Marpet, Antoine Winfield Jr., Logan Hall has really come on this season, his third season. Sometimes it takes guys 3 seasons. He's really come on this season. Luke Gedeke, Cody Mock has really turned it on in year 2 of moving from left tackle to right guard, outside, inside, different sides of the line. Like, that's just the last couple of years. Chris Braswell is number 2 in pressures behind Jared Verse and of all rookies. Like, come on, give him some time. I think, you look at Roberto Aguayo and MJ Stewart's and there's been some misses, but I mean, there's been some real strong hits too. Really strong hits. I don't think saying haven't been real solid. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 starters at least right now on this team. Chris Braswell is getting more and more snaps every week. Like, that's just from the last 3-4 drafts. Like, I don't know. But yeah, so like I said, I don't think Jason's making a move, guys. I don't think he's going to make a move. That's just what I feel. If he does, don't expect one of these, big names. Maybe a Mike Williams for a 6th, maybe a Kayshon Boutte for a 6th or a 5th, maybe Tyler Boyd for a 6th conditional. I think the one that makes the most sense financially wise and for the team, not giving up the farm, is a guy like Deontay Johnson for a 4th. But again, do the Carolina Panthers want to trade within the division? How close are you with Dave Canales still? Can he convince Dan Morgan to do it. You know, again, it's just 1 year. The Panthers are out. So you're not like you're dealing with Deontay Johnson for multiple years. And I don't think the Bucs would re-sign Deontay Johnson. You know, maybe hope he gets a big contract somewhere and catches them a compensatory pick. Maybe someone should pitch that idea to Jason. Hey, give him a 4th this year. Could turn into a 5th next year. You're getting a 1 round for a rental. But again, we'll see what they do. This has been a long show. Cream School Week. Super excited with everyone in here. I appreciate everybody for popping in. All the questions, all the comments. As always, it's Cream School Week. It's a fun week. Go check out my Twitter page. Fango Tickets. We're giving away 2 free tickets to the Bucs Falcons game. All I got to do is retweet. Follow some pages you should be following anyways. Tell your favorite moment. Super simple. Go do it right now. I don't know what you're waiting for. Well, not right now. If you're watching it on your phone, don't do it now. If you're watching on your TV or your computer and you have your phone, then go do it. Don't do it now unless. But yeah, that's for free. Go check out Duvin Design tomorrow at 10 a.m. Get your tickets to the Bucs Cruise and let me know. Shoot me a DM. My DMs are open. Shoot me a DM if you got your tickets. Super excited. Love to meet some of you guys. Mostly Heating and Air if you're in Tampa. Get your maintenance plans. Tell them I sent you. Give you a deal. My son won his football game last night, playoff game last night. So they're off to the second round of the playoffs. Super cool. Proud dad moment. I was working the chain game. Screaming, got in trouble by the ref. We can't yell. Whoops. Playoffs. So that's fun. Daughter has a cheer competition this week, so that's fun too. Hopefully she kicks butt. I'll talk to you guys later. I appreciate all of you. Like, subscribe, turn on reminders. You're on Twitter. Switch over. Like, subscribe. Even if you're going to watch on Twitter, just come over here, or X, whatever we're calling X. Don't give it to you. Come over here and do me a solid. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. That's going to do it for me. Cream School Week, baby. We're in the orange. Talk to y'all later. Peace out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Pirate Parlay on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.